We live.
Whew. Wow. CABC family. That was something special. A huge game. All the buildup, all the hype, and it really. I mean, the entirety of those 60 minutes were sort of breathtaking. Pageantry, scoring, everything you could have wanted was in this game. But of course, Alabama loses 46-41 to LSU, number 2 versus number 3, in a game that won't be soon forgotten. Certainly in the state of Louisiana, first time in about a decade they've been able to pull this game off. And for Alabama, I think you learn a lot about the Crimson Tide this year. Maybe the defense not as good. Tua, tough as nails. The second half effort, almost perfect, almost enough for Alabama in a game that started off pretty much drunk with Tua dropping the ball out of nowhere, a couple of phantom calls, it's just randomness. That game was very weird. There was a punt return for a touchdown for Alabama. Then it scores a touchdown on really a freshman for LSU, Derek Stingley, just a half a second late on the call. So this was kind of a happy birthday game both ways, I think, early. The refs probably mattered a little bit too much. But I think in the end, and it was especially resonant on the final drive, LSU wanted this game more. I tweeted it. You just watch it. Outside of Najee Harris and maybe Tua, Devontae Smith, Terrell Lewis, a couple guys who had really great games, Xavier McKinney, LSU's collectively wanted it, especially 9, especially 22. Those guys were on the same page, and Alabama didn't want to play like Alabama defensively and make tackles. It was very weird to see how sloppy it was, both from a tackling and discipline standpoint. It was odd. But again, there were some positives. Alabama adjusted very, very well in the second half. I think LSU was shut out the entirety of the third quarter. But coaching is about adjusting to the adjustments sometimes. And I think LSU, as the broadcast said, they saved a couple of aces there. Joe Brady, Steve Ensminger there at the very end to let Joe Burrow go win the game. And I thought that's kind of how it played out. And sometimes, and Bama fans know this better than anybody, sometimes you just run into a guy who's on that Steph Curry Davidson streak where he's just not going to miss a shot. You ran into Cam Newton and Tim Tebow and guys like that. And maybe this is what Joe Burrow is, at least for the regular season. It feels like to me that this Heisman race is all but locked up, and maybe the buzzsaw was going to claim anybody in its path. But a ton to get to, Kev. I mean, just we're going to obviously dig well into this, but where are you kind of at, just fresh off the game, catching your breath and looking at this wild Alabama LSU situation?
Yeah, I mean, I thought to his defense, I thought Tua played a very good game. Started off slow, had the drunk fumble or whatever.
Well, I mean, seriously,
I mean, that was like Jameis Winston-esque in the Rose Bowl against Oregon. I mean, that was bad.
Yeah, that was another drunk one. The ghosts were out there in Tuscaloosa today.
Yeah, they were there, and I don't really know, after. But I mean, other than that, and then you had the poor read on the interception, the Queen interception there towards the end of the half, trying to do a little too much to keep his team in the game, and then at the end of that play, you have the idiotic personal foul from Landon Dickerson to get them into scoring range, and that's they score again before the half, and in a one possession game, you don't get the personal foul at the end of it. Maybe you don't get that touchdown.
Right.
Maybe they kick a field goal, or maybe they don't even get points on the board after that. So and that's it's very on brand for him.
Dating back to high school.
Dating back to high school, that's very on brand for him.
Yeah.
So if Alabama fans should probably get used to that. It'll probably happen again some point during the year.
Oh, he's been borderline all year. I mean, that's just who he is. But you like it to a certain degree, but there has to be a line there. And,
I mean, he's a very physical guy. He's better suited for the SEC than he was in the ACC when he was at Florida State. So he's better. His style of play is better suited for the SEC, but he's also been known to get that personal foul and all of that. So, you can't do that in big games like this.
But it was a microcosm of the lack of discipline, though, right?
Yeah,
a ton of penalties,
ton of penalties,
and a lot of dumb ones, just really dumb ones.
Ton of miscues, tons of missed coverages, and it wasn't a very Alabama-esque. There was it was sloppy. It was there was a lot of mistakes that could be cleaned up and needed to be cleaned up if this team wants to continue this push towards the playoffs, which as a one-loss team that's not going to make their championship game, they probably have the best shot at that. So.
Yeah, and I think that was why the second half was so important. And they said it on the broadcast. Everybody knew it. Like, hey, Bama's going to have to rally back here to stay in the conversation. And before we get into that greater picture, maybe we should jump into that now in a second. But like you said something there. In a one-score game, all of those things going against one team felt like a lot. But even if you just go to the first few miscues, the Tua ghost fumble and the punter dropping the ball and basically getting tackled there, 3 free points for LSU. That's like a 13-point potential swing with those 2 plays in a 5-point game. Just sort of a crazy, weird way to start the game. But Bama certainly battled back. Let's just jump into it, Kev, because we're waiting on other folks to come in. We'll tweet out that we're live so you guys and gals can come hang out. But let's just jump into the greater conversation, because on November 9th right now, every Bama fan is pissed because of the loss. But if you knew that, hey, this was a way to kind of sneak in as a number 4, which has happened with teams that have won the playoff. I know Ohio State was a 4 in the first playoff. I think Bama was a 4 2 years ago when it defeated Clemson and won its last national title, I believe. So if you knew there was a path to that, you would feel a little bit differently about this game. So let's just jump to that, because that's really the most important part of this. I'm not the big rematch guy. I've had my dream matchups for Alabama this year. Obviously, Oklahoma with Jalen Hurts. Obviously, Bama Clemson part 1,000,000. I would love to see. What would this be, 5 or 6? I would love to see those games. But after tonight, how do you – if the computers justified Bama 9-6 – getting a chance to avenge that, how do you not justify this one with the craziness of that game and a true sense of, if there was some more time, Bama was putting things together. That second half, 4 of the last 5 drives were touchdowns. Some of those were very easy touchdowns, and it's not even getting into a couple of touchdown drops by Jerry Jeudy and a couple of other random situations that prevented quicker drives for Alabama, which obviously were important in a 5-point game where you were an onside kick away from having a chance to go win the thing. I thought the clock management was not great for Alabama, some by the coaching staff, but some by miscues and like what Kevin said, some of the lack of discipline there. But I'm on the rematch train. It's corny, man, and it's not me. I didn't necessarily agree with it back then, but back then, Alabama was the clear best team at the end of the season when it was time to win that game, and they won 21-0. It was a beatdown, and it was like all the crap that people were talking leading up to that, and how Bama didn't deserve its rematch. I think at the end of that game, you kind of said, okay, that was kind of right. Now, some people say that's the reason the BCS ended, and maybe so, but it felt right and justified there at the end. And I don't know, this feels like 2 pretty even teams at the end of the day. Great quarterbacks, great running backs wearing number 22, and all the props to Edwards-Helaire and Najee Harris tonight. It was really their night. But it just felt a little more even than maybe, you just want to see that game a little cleaner, whether it's penalties, calls on both sides, because I think both teams got hosed at different points. Maybe something a little bit cleaner with more at stake, a better officiating crew, kind of all those things, more ability to review things like illegal touching, which is a rule that has apparently just escaped the vocabulary of refereeing, just things like that. You don't want to see those being such critical factors, a phantom fumble or a punter dropping the ball. You don't want to see those things matter that much when it comes to the best teams. No offense to kickers and punters and refs, but you wanted to come down to the Tuas and the Burrows and the Najees and the Devontaes, et cetera, as opposed to those guys to that degree. So I think there is some conversation here for a potential rematch, but obviously it's different with the playoff. There's 4 teams that have to get in. We know Penn State is all the way out, and shout out to Row the Boat for that. But there has to be a lot of wiggle room here for Alabama to kind of hover around where they're already ranked, in my opinion. We lose you, Kev. We got some good comments coming in here. You back with us, Kev?
Yeah, sorry about that.
Yeah, I was going to kick it back to you. Just kind of your thoughts on the playoff. And, I mean, how much, if at all, should Bama drop here? Because you lost higher than you. It was a close game. How are you, again, just like we talked about the other day, are you ranking the best resumes or the best teams?
Yeah, I mean, in my opinion, you got to rank the best teams. So, I mean, this loss, you got a 2 versus 3. I think you'll see them drop to, the 4 or 5 range. So, I mean, 4 or 5 range.
Yeah.
Maybe as low as 6, but I mean, I kind of doubt that, especially with Penn State losing.
Bama will be ranked ahead of Penn State. I think we could all agree wholeheartedly there.
Yeah, so I think that'll be good. That'll be a good thing for them. Penn State losing was good for Alabama. So I don't think there still might be a chance in there that Alabama squeaks in. We'll see how it plays out.
Yeah, now all of a sudden Baylor, Oklahoma next week is big for Bama. So Jalen Hurts is going to factor into Bama's chances, it looks like. If 2 SEC teams are going to get in now, I think you're going to have to eliminate the Big 12 from the playoff because we all agree Clemson's in. We all agree Ohio State is probably in. So there's really 2 spots here. So you need the Pac-12 and the Big 12 to really sort of drop the ball if you're an Alabama fan.
Yeah, you need someone else in the Big 10 to pull a miracle, row the boat, skew ma. But then at that point, an undefeated Minnesota's got to be in, no? I mean, Big 10 champion, I guess. Yeah,
undefeated Big 10 champion's in, regardless of who it is, right? Okay, so
yeah. So, I see a lot of talk about putting this on Golding. I mean, Golding doesn't tackle. So,
yeah, I think in terms of the matchups, Bama was right there, right? I mean, the first touchdown, Jamar Chase, 50-50 ball with Trevon Diggs, who had an awful game in pursuit, I thought. 50-50 ball, Jamar beats Trevon. A couple of the other scores were a lot of running scores, obviously. Man coverage with Clyde out of the backfield was probably a bit of a tall task. If you want to put that touchdown on Golding, then maybe. But I thought schematically Bama was okay on defense, and they adjusted very well. I thought after the first easy drives for LSU, Alabama put pressure on the Tigers and brought extra guys to say that, hey, we're going to force the issue a little bit with Joe Burrow. And I thought the coverage was good enough behind that. Xavier McKinney had a really good game. But it was more individual effort, spacing, tackling, things like that. I thought there was good pressure on Burrow almost all night. But he was just better.
If I could say without a doubt that a group played well, it was the front 4. Especially the 2 on the end. I mean, you had Anthony Jennings and Lewis had constant pressure all night. So I think they played very well. As far as linebackers, I think you saw the youth in the linebacking core tonight. Trayvon Diggs had one of the worst games I've seen from an Alabama corner in a long time. I mean, there's a couple times where I'm just like, you got to come up and make that play on the running back. They're throwing short routes out into the flats, and you gotta come downhill and make that play. I mean, he was like he was backing up, waiting for contact. Can't do that in these kind of big games like that. I mean, I think there was a couple. One of them was on third down, and he backs and backs, waits for him, gets first down, tries to tackle him on the 5-yard line, tries to strip it, misses the tackle, scores another touchdown there at the end.
Yeah.
Then like a couple people have said, I think tonight that defense really missed Dylan Moses.
No doubt. I think on those third downs when you have Joe Burrow scrambling, who in the world do you think would have been spying on him? It would have been Dylan, 1,000%.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, especially with a healthy Terrell Lewis, where you don't have to use Moses as a pass rusher like Bama had to last year. I think he's absolutely your overhang defender instead of Jared Maiden, who's a defensive back who did not have a great game playing underneath, or another linebacker, a young linebacker. I thought that Dylan Moses would absolutely get you out of some of those third downs that you weren't able to. I'm looking here. LSU was 8 for 15 on third down. With Dylan Moses, you feel like that number could be more 50% instead of 60 or whatever it was, 8 out of 15. No doubt, big, Dylan Moses, FOMO here, I think, for Alabama fans. It kind of sucks against his hometown team, that he wanted to be out there. But no doubt, and we said it going in, right, Kev? The underneath defenders, the nickel guys for both Bama and LSU would absolutely be tested all night long. Kerry Vincent for LSU, not a great game. Bama picked on him. Jared Maiden for Alabama, Shaheem Carter to some degree, not the greatest games, got picked on a little bit. So I think these offenses challenge your depth. I mean, heck, both of these running backs caught downfield touchdown passes. I mean, they were challenging every member of your coverage department. Both of these offenses were, and to a large degree, both defenses failed in that light. I mean, 800 yards of passing between Alabama and LSU, over 1,000 yards of offense. It's very weird to say.
800 passing yards in this game. I mean, when's the last time Alabama and LSU had 800 yards passing? I mean, it's insane. I mean, these teams, we saw it last year with Alabama's offense, but I mean, this surgence of LSU with an offense is, kind of scary.
Yeah, no doubt. There's just so much to take from this game. How about the drops? Very weird for Alabama. Multiple touchdowns dropped, a couple easy catch and runs. I think Devontae Smith dropped one. I don't know if Ruggs dropped one, but it was kind of a weird game where everybody had one or two moments that just you sort of didn't look like yourself out there tonight. I don't know if that's pressure or, it wasn't raining or anything. I mean, I don't know if that's just pressure or just at some point you can't be the greatest group of XYZ in the world. And Alabama looked like it for most of the game, but obviously not for all the games.
Yeah, I mean, very uncharacteristic with the drops and that kind of stuff. I don't know. It was just sloppy. It was kind of weird. There was just something different about it, and you just kind of felt that energy from the very beginning until the offense kind of got rolling there, middle of the second quarter into the second half. Then it started to look like the Alabama offense that we're used to seeing. I mean, you had the 16-second drive at the end of the game. I mean, that's what Alabama fans are used to right now. So,
right.
But it was nice to see sustained drives and the running of the ball and the emergence of Najee Harris tonight. This is kind of what we've been waiting for is in his emergence. And, people were kind of like, oh, well, was Najee Harris a bust and all these things? And why was he the number one running back? Like, that's why he was the number one running back in the country. Like, this is why.
Right. Now it looked easy for him. I was watching, I'm a Syracuse grad. I watched a little bit of Boston College, Syracuse last week, and A.J. Dillon just looked like a man playing against children for most of that game against Syracuse. And that's how Najee looked tonight against LSU, which is hard to do. The first defender had no chance at bringing Najee down. The yards after contact, I don't have the number, but got to be close to 100, I feel like. Just it seemed like every run he would make somebody miss around, the line of scrimmage, and he'd go for 8, 10, 12 yards a pop with some power to finish those runs. Angry Najee Harris is still one of the scarier things, we've ever really seen in high school football, and now you're starting to see that a little bit in college.
Yeah, it's good. It's good.
Yeah. Remember, he's from Oakland. Everyone in Oakland called him Beast Mode 2.0, Marshawn Lynch 2.0. That was some of the rhetoric with him coming out by people who saw both of those guys run as a youth, and you saw some of that today. So that was great for him and his NFL draft stock. And a lot of guys helped their stock today. I thought Terrell Lewis, this is his NFL game. He was the best player in the trenches, I thought, on either side of the ball.
He made it look effortless at times.
Yeah, Burrow.
Third
Burrow's credit. Yeah, Burrow got away from him probably 5 times where it looked like he had no chance.
Yeah, third and long. He barely gets touched.
But Terrell Lewis had to have 10 pressures on his own today. It felt like. Yeah. So there's a lot of guys, a lot of good to take from this game individually with certain players. But obviously, team game, team loss, all of those things. Anything really surprise you, Kev, just individually with a certain player or just a trend? I'm sure none of us expected special teams to be that damn important in this one. But
isn't special teams? Don't you always hold your breath with special teams in Alabama?
In college, yeah, I was gonna say, college especially.
Alabama fans just want to jump off a ledge every time we kick an extra point.
Missed extra point, the punt, and the punter can't catch the punt. But then on the flip side, you take a punt back for a touchdown where Jalen Waddle's head somehow stayed on. You block an extra point, so it was really sort of back and forth there with the nerves on special teams. And then, I thought Bullivus kicked a really nice onside kick. Got the high bounce you look for, but Bama just couldn't get down there quite in time to play against, I think it was Jefferson who caught it for LSU. So crazy game.
For me, I guess my surprise trend was the poor play from the Alabama
back seven
veterans.
Oh yeah.
The veteran play in the back seven was not good, and that's not something that I'm used to saying when we talk about these games. But their back seven play wasn't good. Trevon Diggs had a terrible game. Maiden struggled. This was not a good game for the back part of the Alabama defense, and Joe Burrow kind of picked them apart.
Yeah, but Burrow, he loves the middle of the field. I think we really saw that tonight, and I think that those inside stab moves with these receivers for LSU really worked out well. Terrace Marshall was wide open for 1 touchdown. I think Pat Surtain got beat for a big 3rd down conversion on that Heisman drive for Burrow. With inside moves. I think when you establish the outside game, the vertical game, the back shoulder game like LSU did, these are humans, right? So what are you going to do? You're going to open up your hips a little bit more towards that and now allow a little bit more space for these receivers to come back underneath, which to LSU's credit, they adjusted to when they had to. Because Bama's defense played very well after that initial wave. When it got up to 33-13, they really kind of pinned their ears back and settled in and realized that they had to be perfect almost to give the team a chance to win the game. And for a large portion of the second half, they did that. So you credit Saban and Pete Golding after halftime, but sometimes there's just not enough time to adjust to the adjustment. LSU adjusted to Bama's adjustment at the half and obviously put together 2 drives that won them the game straight up. Yeah,
it was the halftime adjustments, obviously Saban and Golden got together and got that together. But it was just, it's a little too late.
Too little, too late.
Too little, too. There we go. Thank you, sir.
It's been a long day of.
It's been
some great games today, by the way.
Yeah, so it was a good Saturday for football.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah. Still going, by the way. There's any big games tonight or no? Clemson's playing like NC State. That won't matter. Oregon's off, I think.
Yeah, I don't think there's any Pac-12 after dark. Any worth watching at least.
Right.
So, but no, I mean, you had some, definitely had some. Well, I mean, you still got the Georgia game going on. They're playing Missouri. It's only 13-0. So,
Kelly Bryant's not playing though, right?
Yeah, he's hurt or something. I don't know. You got Appalachian playing South Carolina, the FBS killer.
That could be good.
It's 6-6 midway through the second, and Clemson's 14-0 against NC State. Notre Dame's 14-0 against Duke. Tennessee's losing 13-0 to Kentucky.
Yo, Mark Stoops can coach.
Yeah,
so can Matt Rule, by the way. That was a heck of a win for them in overtime.
Matt Rule, yeah. I mean, they're just it's gotten he turned that program around. I didn't think Baylor would be back as quick as they have been, but I mean, he's turned that program around pretty quick.
Yeah, just going through some stats. I guess we can rattle some off here, just since we're probably going to hang out for a little bit. Tua, 21 of 40, 418, 4 TDs, of course, the one pick. Joe Burrow, this is stupid. Listen to this. 31 of 39, 393, 3 touchdowns, 0 interceptions, and obviously he didn't – well, I guess they called that a fumble with
yeah, they called it a fumble
in the second half. Okay, I thought that was an interception, but they called it a fumble.
They originally called it an interception, but I think they called it a fumble.
Yeah, really the only bad thing you could say about Joe Burrow the entire game, even though that was really just a nice dialed-up blitz by the Bama staff to get was it McKinney who got in there?
McKinney got the initial contact, and Lewis got the fumble recovery.
Yeah, and this is where maybe I'm surprised by this. I mean, obviously nobody expected Edwards-Helaire to be that much of a factor as a receiver. 9 grabs for 77 yards, had that touchdown to put him up 33-13. And I thought maybe Thad Moss's line I wouldn't have expected. I would have never expected him to have 6 catches in this game. Obviously, the one was something that I still quite don't understand fully. I guess
it's not a catch.
I guess what they're saying is that they determined live that Trevon Diggs pushed him enough to get him out of bounds, even though he's about 50 pounds heavier than Diggs, and Diggs really just kind of chicken winged him.
I mean, their hands. I mean,
let's be honest. Thad Moss ran out of bounds and made a great play on the ball and didn't even know he was out of bounds. So I don't think this was a situation where he was conscious that he was pushed out of bounds and then attempted to reestablish to make this play. No, I think he was out of bounds and it was illegal touching. I think that was the most objective way to look at it. But apparently live, air quotes for a reason, they determined that there was a push. Of course, in slow-mo, everything looks like more than a push. A chicken wing like this in real life is really methodical and looks like
everything looks better in slow motion.
Yeah, y'all seen Chappelle's show. So, yeah, everything looks better in slow motion when you have an agenda, and I think that play was pretty much going to stand. Now, if they would have just came out and said the play stands, like we don't know, fine. But they took about an hour to look at that thing. So to me, it seemed like at one point they had agreed it was illegal touching and they were marking off where the ball was, where the clock was, all these things. And then it just went, 180 there before they came out and said it. It's very odd to hear, Gene Steratore, who's like a Hall of Fame ref, being so clear about something. Oh yeah, this is illegal touching.
It's illegal touching, and then and then it's not.
It was so chalk for him, and then to come back and see it. Well, the play stands. It's like, well, damn, okay.
He literally said, yeah, they're gonna overturn that. By the way, Jalen Hurts is 1 for 1 for 48 yards and a touchdown to start the game. Just
who are they playing? Kansas?
Iowa State.
Oh, actually, Iowa State's pretty good, but So I thought Thad Moss, him having that many grabs is certainly surprising. You expected Jamar Chase to be good. 6 for 140, had the touchdown over Diggs to get LSU on the board. How about Smitty for Alabama? 7 for 213, 2 touchdowns. Of course, the 85-yarder helps there. And speaking of that, I guess this has to be said. Derek Stingley looked like a freshman today.
He got beat bad.
At 24/7, we're in the final rankings meeting, and look, I'm going to say that Antonio Alfano did not have the most votes for number 1 player in that final ranking. It was Derek Stingley. had the most pure votes. It's like, to tie it into a certain guest today, it was like winning the popular vote, but not the electoral college. I'll leave it at that. So Derek Stingley won that popular vote, and he has looked like the best freshman maybe in the last 5 years, I would say, up until this game. But Bama humbled him in a great way. Yes, he was caught off guard at one point, but on the second touchdown, he lost leverage. He got outrun. He kind of looked shook for the first time, and he actually gave up a lot, not just to Devontae Smith, to a couple of different Alabama wide receivers. I think Derek Stingley is going to be humbled after this game, but I think that also makes him that much better. So Bama did a good job doing something that no team has been able to do this year and really attack 24, and they did so for probably 200 yards of passing offense, and that says a lot about Nick, because they wanted Stingley coming out of high school too.
Yeah, I mean, but going back to what you're talking about when they caught him off guard what a great design. You give him the fake clap, and then everybody looks to the sideline.
Yep.
You snap it real quick, because what does everybody do when the offense looks? The defense looks.
Yeah, I thought Sarkisian called a great game. Early, there were a couple of design rollouts for Tua that I didn't understand because he had the ankle. The
rollout on the goal line didn't make much sense to me.
Made no sense. So I thought that was a little off, but I thought he adjusted as well as any coach individually in this game with the game plan, getting the ball to Najee by any means necessary, and then putting pressure on that LSU secondary with that depth that was certainly weaker than I think Alabama's. And a quick note on Devontae Smith, what makes him so good, and again, while we had this conversation last time, what more does he have to show at the collegiate level? Being a good route runner is not just breaking people's ankles and creating a ton of separation and making it look like Larry Fitzgerald or some of these guys. Sometimes it's taking what the defense gives you now. On that Derek Stingley play, if he tried to go through a route stem, bubble out to a fade, and then get down the field, Stingley catches up. That's how good he is. But you take what the defense gives you now. Instead of getting cute, you're on top of him, just go. You don't have to get cute at that point. If you're even, you're leaving. And I thought Bama's been very good with that with these wide receivers. They're all good route runners in their own right, but it doesn't mean you're always chopping your feet, doing all the dumbass ladder drills you see on Twitter from these high school receivers. It doesn't always mean that. It means taking what's there now. Take it now. It's like a hot read. It's like an RPO. Take it now. You don't have to be cute. Quarterback, you're doing an RPO, throw off your back foot. You don't have to be cute. Just get it there now. And as a receiver, Smith getting on top of Stingley like this twice when he messed up, I thought was said a lot about his game and where it is now versus in high school, where I think he still would have been cute and bowed out a little bit because he was known as a very polished route runner coming out of high school. So polished doesn't always mean pretty, and I think Devontae showed that a lot tonight. This was a huge game for his NFL prospects, I thought, as well. So a lot of great individual efforts, but obviously Alabama fell anyway. Yeah,
I mean, staying with Smith, I mean, you heard him say on the broadcast where Judy said he has the best hands on the team, and he showed it again tonight. I mean, who do you go to on 3rd and 7 when you need a first down? And not only does he set it up, he beats Stingley inside, but he makes the catch.
Right.
Then you got 4th and goal. You half roll Tua. Who do you throw it to? You throw it to Smitty again after he's set it up. He makes the catch. I mean, he's just sure-handed as any wide receiver on that in the country right now, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Just his sure-handedness, along with his ability in the route running game, just makes him just that much more. I keep trying to figure out which one's going to stay, and I said originally it would be Smitty, but
baby, it's a wrap.
As we progress into the season, I think all 3 of them are going to leave now. So who knows, man?
Yeah, and that's what I love about watching this kind of game. It's all NFL guys, right? I mean, this is good on good. They said the last one, that 9-6 game, was like 50 NFL guys.
Yeah.
This one might be like that one day, and that's what you want to see.
More.
I mean, Derek Stingley eats up every receiver he's faced, but how good do you got to be to eat him up? And I think that's the beauty of a game like this. Like, Alabama does not have a bad defense, but tonight it looked bad against LSU's offense. So I just think that's cool. And you see who kind of rises up. I mean, those two running backs before tonight, I think people would have told you we've heard of Edwards-Helaire, we've heard of Najee Harris, but they're good players. But you would kind of just leave it there. But they were the two most manly men on the field tonight when it came to being physical and fighting for everything, and which is what you want to see. So you get to see guys rise up, and that's really what impressed me about Joe Burrow. The throwing motion, how rapid he gets the ball out, all of that. Fine, he's had that, right? That's freaking 7-on-7. That's what football has become. But the other things with Joe impressed me today. Obviously, the running, the decision making, and I'll give you a great example. How many first downs did Joe Burrow run for? And the one first down Tua needed to run for, he slid a little bit early instead of going head first, knowing that he would be docked those few yards. It's just the little things like that. I thought Burrow is a very good ball handler and game manager out there at quarterback. Game manager doesn't mean you're handing the ball off and going play action like Greg McElroy. No, it means you protect the football and you make very good decisions, winning decisions. And I thought Burrow made almost pretty much every decision he made was a winning decision. Like I said, the one turnover, I really don't put on him. Bama timed up a blitz very well, and the left tackle had no chance.
Yeah, I mean, you said it. I mean, this was if we're gonna talk about Burrow's performance. I mean, this was Burrow's Heisman game,
no doubt.
This was Manziel's Heisman game a couple years ago with Bama. I mean, this is Joe Burrow's Heisman game. I think right now he's put himself in the driver's seat. It's kind of his to lose at this point. Played that well against Alabama. He's played that well so far this year. When you're talking about a quarterback having a good game who already completes 80% of his passes, then I mean, what else can you say? Really?
No, the efficiency is crazy, and they're not dinking and dunking. That's the thing. Like you could be efficient and dink and dunk in a West Coast scheme. This is shots and deep crossers and back shoulders and 50-50 balls. I mean, that's what
I can't remember the exact number, but I mean they gave a stat during the broadcast about how much of their passes were caught in between the hatches. I mean, that's
hard to do.
Yeah.
That's hard to do against an Alabama team. I know this is a different one where, one safety is questionable and the linebackers are teenagers. I get it, but that's still hard to do against Alabama with the front four they had tonight. That's really hard to do. And the secondary, Bama's secondary, I think covers better than LSU's, and to attack it so specifically up the middle was probably a good game plan, but it would also happen to me, like you said, what they already did best. So I thought that worked out really well for LSU. They didn't have to challenge Diggs and Surtain as much on the outside with those 50-50 balls beyond the first quarter and a half of the game. They established that and moved on and built upon that, which is a credit to Burrow and obviously the coaching staff. So he deserves it, right? I mean, who else is in it? I mean, Justin Fields isn't the best player on his team, even though that guy is now suspended. Who else is in that conversation? Tua was injured and now has a loss. Jalen Hurts already has a loss. I mean, who else is in that conversation for the Heisman at this point?
Yeah, I mean, there's nobody.
Nobody at Minnesota is going to be.
No, there's nobody. There's nobody on a ranked team or a top 5 team that has put himself in that position. And if they have, they're on a 1-loss team. You got Jalen Hurts 1 loss. You got J.K. Dobbins and Justin Fields. Like you said, not the best players on their team, but
Trevor Lawrence ran out of time, right? There's nothing he.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think
he doesn't have the opponents to.
Yeah, there's nothing. There's nothing left he can do. He's already played. I mean, we're too far into the season I think we're too far into the season for an emerger to come out. So I mean, I think right now, got to be Joe Burrow's lose.
Yeah, no doubt.
Which I mean, if you would have told me preseason Joe Burrow's going to win the Heisman, I'd have said you're drunk, go home.
That's why the sport is so great, man.
Yeah, so I mean, Joe Burrow's front runner Heisman. LSU probably jumps to number 1, I would imagine.
Yeah. What if I told you Florida State would fire their coach after being sub 500, then go immediately up to Boston in 30 degrees and win a game that was a very physical, tough game? It's just college football, man. It's crazy. What if I told you Minnesota will beat Penn State? And then when I told you that they're 9-0 in doing so.
Minnesota's 9-0 in doing so. Yeah.
Baylor is 9-0.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Yeah.
Yeah.
Heck, LSU is 9-0. I mean, that's a story. They've beaten Auburn, Florida, Texas, obviously Bama now. I mean, their resume couldn't be better, I don't think. I mean, unless you threw in an Ohio State or something. I mean, it's unreal what LSU's been able to put together. And I know this is a Bama-centric podcast, but, man, you got to feel good for Coach O. It just felt like he felt like he arrived. Whether he has or not is a story for another day, but it's like watching a championship. When you see that team crowned, you kind of like feel it for them. Like they worked to get to a point that they considered the top. And for it looked like today was that point for him where this was kind of the top. I mean, Gatorade bath, arms in the air, pumping up and down the sidelines, tear in his eye. The Go Tigers as gritty as ever. You got to feel happy for him. And I saw a tweet about this. If you are USC, man, somebody tweeted what could have been. It was a picture of them lifting up Coach O after he was their interim coach and had a big win, however many years ago that was. Crazy to think of USC and LSU the last few years and what's transpired in their trajectories, where we talk about the Pac-12 and we don't talk about USC. I mean, that's what it's become over there. And obviously LSU is going to jump up probably to number one in the country after beating Bama in Tuscaloosa. So quite the jump for those guys. Couple more comments that are really interesting. DJ's got some good points. Obviously Joe Burrow's a beast, like you said. Maybe too much DJ Dale. And that's where we were kind of coming out of high school, where we were kind of curious about DJ. How is he going to play in the space game? How is he going to play in the pass rushing game? Things like that, where things are spread out, more times than not. I think that kind of limited his ceiling a little bit. Christian Barmore looks like the bigger, more athletic guy. He had great pursuit on one play, got good pressure on Burrow to force a fourth down. On another play, I thought Christian Barmore has really kind of turned the corner here for Alabama, which needs it at that position. A couple more comments. Bama hasn't let a running back eat their blank up since Zeke. Yeah, I think it's the total yards from Clyde and the yards after contact. I don't think it was huge holes or anything like that. I just thought that kid wanted it more than Bama's tacklers did. 8, 35, 21. These guys, 7, had a rough day. They just had a rough night making stops. And that kid is 5'7", 220, whatever he is. And it's a lot of leverage coming at you. You got to be ready. And Bama wasn't ready for that. So it's a good point, though, Gelato. I mean, in terms of total yards, that kid, let's see, he had 77 receiving and 103 rushing. So 180 total yards, 2 touchdowns for Edwards-Helaire. And he was efficient. I mean, it's not like he was a workhorse and had 50 touches. He did so on 29 touches. So he was consistent. And, again, his yards after contact, I'm sure, right there with Najee's. Those guys, people didn't want to tackle those guys today. And, again, this is the spread football that people wanted to see. So it's like there's an old adage. I was talking to an Auburn source about this recently. If you spread your offense out, in practice, it creates that spread atmosphere. So you end up sacrificing a little bit of defensive toughness. Your tackling might not be as good. Your physicality at the point of attack might not be as good. Your ability to get off a block might not be as good because you're just not facing it as much good on good in practice. So all of these teams, for the most part, that have moved over to a spread, you have sacrificed something on defense to get there. Whether, it's usually size and personnel, but I think even your day-to-day practices, remember, these kids came up playing 7-on-7. It's not a transition anymore. This is the new age that everybody was clamoring for with finesse football and spread football. This is what people want. So you got to take the good with the bad. And I think the bad that comes with that is your tackling is never going to be as good. Not to mention these defensive players are already scared at what they can and can't do. But you just don't practice it enough. Everybody has all these rules about lack of two-a-days and all that. You can't have it both ways. You can't go all in on safety and want a team not to miss tackles in space or in the muck, in tight, in the wash. You can't have it both ways. And I thought this was an extreme example of that. But Alabama just looked like another team that had recently moved to the spread and it just isn't playing that style of football anymore. I mean, a lot of people complain about that on the offensive side, but it does translate over to the defense as well. So I think that that's something different for Alabama with those back seven defenders. You just don't tackle as much as you used to. It sounds so elementary, but that's what it is. You don't play like you used to. Kev, how many 3-a-day practices did you have in your playing days?
I don't even know.
These kids have 0.
Yeah, I know. These kids don't even have 2.
None in high school, none in college, none in the spring. It's 0. It's just a different mentality. So a lot of things are helped, maybe safety, overall focus, things like that, points, but you're going to sacrifice some stuff along the way. So I think that's part of it as well.
Yeah. We had a comment that said who plays quarterback for LSU next year.
I think they get a grad transfer probably.
De'Aaron King.
Yeah, De'Aaron King, maybe Mac Jones. No, they'll I think go the grad transfer route, but they'll have a lot of young quarterbacks on the roster. Miles Brennan is the guy who, before Burrow got there, was kind of the chosen one, if you will. I don't know if he's quite what LSU wants to do now. They did sign a kid from Alabama last year, Peter Parrish,
it's Miles Brennan from like Under Armour game, like
2 years ago,
2 or 3 years ago. Yeah,
really skinny kid. Yeah, he looks like Mac Jones, honestly.
Tall, skinny. Yeah.
Yeah, I think Peter Parrish, I think is probably skill set wise on the current roster. He's the guy. He was Central Phoenix City's quarterback last year, led him to a state title. He's a 21-9, 200-meter kid. He can run, he can throw. He just needed this year to grow. And I think if that LSU coaching staff stays in place offensively, then Parrish has had this year to redshirt and learn under Burrow and Joe Brady and Ensminger. So if he can kind of put it all together, I think he's got a chance next year. But I wouldn't be shocked if they went the grad transfer route. This is seemingly a more advanced offense that puts a lot on the quarterback. Joe Burrow's, again, ball handling, game management, decision-making on the run and to run was necessary. All of those things to win this game in Tuscaloosa. So LSU's putting a lot on their quarterbacks, and it's good to see because they didn't used to put anything on them.
No, there hasn't been a load. Like quarterbacks at LSU haven't carried a load since like Jamarcus Russell. I mean,
just chuck it. He used to just chuck it.
He used to just chuck it.
Michael Clayton, all these receivers go downfield.
He used to just chuck it out to Dwayne Bowe.
Dwayne Bowe. Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, you gotta think like they said it too. Like, think about how those guys like freaking Odell and Jarvis Landry and like all these guys. Like, look what they had. Like, what if they had Joe Burrow? Like,
no, can't imagine because they've all still gone to the league and been great. So
yeah. Mac 10's the man. But do you think Bryce Young beats out Mac Jones? Yes.
Yeah, I mean we. That's the risk you take if you're Bama. That's why you go all in on a guy like that right now, and you potentially piss off some legacy kids in the process. I just think Bryce Young's don't come around every year, so I think that you give him all the tools he needs to take it from the gate. And like we just talked about, this era of 7-on-7 and lack of practice has evened the playing field for young guys to come in and be that much more ready. The game's not as sophisticated as it used to be. Quarterbacks aren't under center, checking for a blitz, snapping the ball, turning their backs to a defense, potentially play faking to a running back, and then coming out of a 5 to 7 step drop to then go through their progressions. No, they're snapping the ball and it's progression 1-2 or go, and that's it. Or RPO, look at the linebacker, throw it or run it. It's simplified for guys like Bryce Young. So that's what football is now. That's what people wanted with the points and all these things and these high-powered offenses. That's what gets them fast and high-powered. It's simplicity. It's not the Patriots.
No, it's these these offenses now are, they got like one name like one-word names and everybody
Yeah,
runs.
we're gonna run Antarctica. Go, 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 and it's just
Yeah,
like
I mean,
four goes and a drag and an RPO on top.
Yeah, you got your simple. I mean, pretty much everything's an RPO now. Everything's got a run pass option. Really, it just depends on what it is. And even the ones that have like bubble, the bubble with it, that's an RPO. The bubble is just an extension of the run game. It's an outside zone play.
Yep.
So I mean,
receivers love it because they might get the ball and they don't have to block.
Exactly. No receiver. It's every receiver's dream. Oh, it's a run play, but I don't have to block. Like, give me the ball. But yeah, it's just the RPO game is really the emergence of the RPO is really kind of and the 7-on-7 stuff. Some people don't like it. Some people like it. It's whatever. To each its own.
Hey, the 9-6 game was every time I mention that on Twitter, people bitch at me.
Oh yeah,
I loved it. People hated it. So this is what you wanted. So don't get mad now. This is what you wanted after that 9-6 game that everyone hated. You wanted this kind of football. You got it.
Exactly.
So embrace it. Embrace all that comes with it.
I mean, these kids are playing 7-on-7 in like elementary school now. So
yeah, no, literally, it's weird.
I know, literally. So it's all one word, simple stuff, simple concepts. And there's a run pass tag on a lot of stuff now, and pretty much every run play has a pass tag with it now. So right. you build everything off of the inside zone and the zone read and all that stuff, and then you just
yeah, it's more about the athletes today than ever before. I think schematically, it's an easier game than it's ever been. You either gotta, and that's either side of the ball. It's like basketball. It's a matchup game. Like I want to give LeBron the ball at the top of the key and let him dictate things so that he could decide what matchup is best for our team depending on the score and situation. That's pretty much what these quarterbacks are doing. They're creating the matchup. I mean, LSU, they wouldn't have told you that Edwards-Helaire was going to catch 9 passes and Thad Moss was going to catch 6. Those guys were never going to account for 15 receptions in one game, but the matchups dictated that. So after it works a little bit, you just work to get those again. Bama was going to keep getting it to Najee, just like LSU was going to keep getting it to Edwards-Helaire. It's about the athletes now more than it has ever been. Obviously, it's never all one side or the other, but it's about recruiting. It's about the guys in between the lines now more than it's ever been. That's why there's so much turnover and things still look the same at all these schools. Look at Ohio State.
Yeah.
They look better than ever. They lost personnel, coaches, head coach, legends. They've lost 2 national title coaches in the last 7 years or something and look fine. Like it's hard. That wouldn't happen back in the day. You lose a national title coach, you're done. You're going to go the other way for at least a little bit, and then maybe
you're going to look like Florida State.
Yeah, they're the anomaly to all the rules. They're just outside in their own world right now. But hey, big win for them. They're almost bowl eligible, Kev. Not that that's a big deal, but there you go.
Well, I mean, I guess
Miami is bowl eligible. What is going on in the Sunshine State? We're celebrating that.
Florida's drunk.
Yeah, hey, Florida's good, man. Florida's good. I mean, this LSU team and them, they were pretty much back and forth for 3 quarters. You got to give them credit. And I saw this on the timeline a lot as well. Gosh, how good is Auburn's defense if they held LSU to 24 points?
Yeah.
LSU scored almost double that tonight. Auburn's front 4. Whew. Oh boy, those guys are going to be interesting to see Bama go up against here in a few weeks. But yeah, this is the game now. It's about the guys, and you get a guy like Joe Burrow, and you can do some things like that. But that all goes back to answering the question about Bryce Young. I think he has those tools more than any quarterback on Alabama's roster, assuming Tua leaves. Like he damn near has to at this point.
Yeah, I mean, right now he's got to leave. Not only just because, I mean, what more can he put on tape? But like the durability issues are starting to. Yeah. In my opinion, the durability issues are starting to become an issue with him as far as like NFL stock. I mean, if you're an NFL coach, and you're thinking about drafting him, but you're thinking about drafting Joe Burrow as well. I mean, Joe Burrow. How many games has Joe Burrow missed compared to how many injuries has Tua had? I mean, I don't know. It's just it's not a good look in my opinion when you're having,
and it's a great quarterback draft. So
when you're having
to be the injured one of the group is not fun. But
yes, I mean you've had
nobody throws a prettier ball though. That's true.
That's for sure. But I mean, you've had the same surgery on both your ankles. You had a high ankle sprain on both ankles. You messed your knee up last year. I mean, the durability issues kind of concerned me just a little bit.
And you got to be able to move in the NFL. You're a quarterback.
Yeah,
you don't got to be a great athlete, but you got to be able to slide.
Yeah, you don't got to be Lamar Jackson, but you got to be something. You got to have something.
Yeah, watch Tom Brady and Aaron Rodgers in the pocket. They're not the best athletes, but holy crap, them guys.
They can move.
In short spaces, move incredibly well, and it's like a smart movement, especially in Brady's case because he's 100.
Yeah. By the way, Appalachians beating South Carolina at the half, just saying.
The SEC is weird this year, man.
Yep. So.
Yeah, except for Vandy, who's terrible as usual.
Oh, Vandy. Poor Derek Mason.
Okay, has Vandy played Arkansas, and can we set this up?
Can we set it up? Because it would be the battle of, like, awful, considering Arkansas just lost to Western Kentucky.
Oh, no, they didn't just lose.
They've lost by 30.
How does Chad Morris and Scott Frost have a job with worse records than Willie Taggart at schools that are okay with not being –
because I mean, I think you have that stigma at Florida State where they expect greatness, but then I mean Arkansas. Well, I guess Nebraska, yeah. But he's a Nebraska guy, so
I don't care.
Willie Taggart was a Florida State guy too, but
right.
Yeah, I mean it's terrible. I mean Arkansas. Let me see here.
I would pick Kansas to beat Arkansas on a neutral field right now.
I just want to look at the numbers for Arkansas.
Would you Kansas, Arkansas, and let's say Jerry World? Who are you picking?
Kansas.
Okay, that's all you need to know. If you got to ask if their coach should be fired, that's the only question. Would you lose to Kansas in a neutral field? If that answer is even something you have to think about, then you've already answered your question. Come on, man. Western Kentucky, I hadn't heard of them in 5 years.
Yeah, it's true.
I heard of them since Willie Taggart was there.
I mean, yeah,
Just saying.
Yeah.
It's crazy. And that was in Fayetteville, right?
Yeah, it was at home. They lost at home. Not a good look.
Yeah, the bottom of the SEC's never looked this bad.
No.
Ever.
The bottom of most conferences has never looked this bad. I mean, the bottom of pretty much like it is. It's the bottom of the conference, but at least the bottom of the Big Ten is god awful. The bottom of the SEC is terrible.
We need to get a tournament. Rutgers, Kansas, Arkansas, Vandy,
Georgia Tech.
We just need to. Georgia Tech's been playing well a little bit here lately, and they beat Miami because I don't know.
Because the ACC, that's why.
But we need to get a losers bracket going here, and the loser, just the coach is fired at the game.
Just have when
the clock hits zero.
It's like Fast and the Furious race for pink slips. We're just gonna race for jobs. We're just gonna play for jobs. Whoever loses their job.
I mean, come on, man. And again, I'm not defending Willie Taggart. I don't think he's the guy at FSU. But the timing of it compared to these other schools, I mean, it's like those schools have worse records in better situations, I think. There's no reason Arkansas should have 4 Group of 5 losses in the last 2 years. That's.
I mean, they've had 2 this year.
Yeah. It's just inexcusable. You can't – I mean, I think I saw a stat. The rest of the SEC has 4 G5 losses in the last 2 years. Arkansas has 4 on their own. Still employed. It's bad, man. But I like Chad Morris. He was
stayed at SMU, bro.
Yeah, I mean it's rough. It's rough over there, and I don't like to see the bottom of any conference looking like that. Remember we were talking about soccer. Soccer, if you suck like that, they'll move you out of the conference. International soccer, if you don't perform, that you move leagues and divisions. It's amazing.
Yeah, like
That's
if Arkansas was in the Premier League, like they'd have been gone a long time ago.
They'd be gone. They'd have been out of there, and like App State would be in the SEC or something. Memphis, like Memphis or App State would be right in there, trying to get bowl eligible. They probably would, honestly.
Yeah.
Um,
Got a question: does Dylan come back?
That's the hardest one for me. I think even 2-3 weeks ago, I would have said that the whole Devontae Smith, should he come back thing, was the biggest yay or nay fluctuation possibility on that roster. I'm thinking it's Dylan Moses now, because I think all those receivers are gone. I think all three go, and I think at least two of them could be first rounders. But Dylan Moses, that is very hard. How much tape do you have? Do you really have? Athletically, could he go to the combine and go run 4.5 and look like the freak that he's been known as since 8th grade? Yeah, probably. But at what point does the injury come into effect, and also the lack of tape over a long period? We've seen guys start 1 year at a big school and get drafted, and there's no question as to whether or not Dylan would get drafted. But Dylan Moses, I would imagine, fancies himself a first-round type pick, and I think athletically and physically and coming off of last year and projecting that, you would have assumed he has a shot for that. So that one becomes, do I just want to get into the NFL, or do I want to be that bona fide first-round draft pick? And with the amount of quarterbacks this year alone, it's going to bump out some really good players to the second round. And in my mind, I would feel like a guy who's off of an injury without maybe enough tape would be one of those, guys who maybe gets bumped to the early second round. And again, that might be okay for Dylan. I don't know his personal goals, plan, etc. But if it's a matter of, do you want to get on a roster, he comes out. If it's something more than that, I think he has a good, foundation to need to come back, in addition to maybe just wanting to. And I'm not sure, obviously, what his academic situation is. If he's graduating and he's kind of done with school, then that's obviously a different conversation. But just pure football, I think it's just going to be that internal question. Do you want to come back and be maybe a Bama legend, or do you just want to get into the NFL and start taking care of your family? I don't know what's more important to Dylan, and he may not at this moment either. Today might be the reason he comes back to try to beat LSU. Maybe. I don't know.
You know how these guys are. Some of them have egos.
Yeah. So that's going to be an interesting one. But there's no doubt in my mind, Bama missed Dylan Moses a ton tonight. That was it. Kind of sucked. It sucks.
Yeah,
it sucks. But that's part of it. A lot good more questions in here. Kev, you wanna jump in on any of these?
Yeah, I mean, I think our good friend Gelato asked a good one. He said, "Who declares for the draft for Bama and go?" So we'll start. I guess we'll go offense. We'll just kind of break it down. So offense, quarterback Tua, yes. Running back Najee probably should. Offensive line,
Wills gone.
Leatherwood gone. I mean, those are the only ones that are. I mean, Deontay Brown's eligible, but probably shouldn't because of tape. Dickerson's shouldn't because of tape. Wide receivers, God, all three by like sayonara. Like you got to pray for one to stay, but I don't think you get it.
No, and Bama will be fine at receiver. I mean,
you got a good one. There's guys there, but you hate to lose all three of those guys. And then let's see. I guess we'll go defense. Defensive line, you're going to lose Jennings, Lewis.
Lewis could come back, but he doesn't need to at this point.
Yeah, Raekwon's gone just because of eligibility. Linebackers, I mean, Dylan could go.
That's it.
Yeah. And then secondary, they should all come back right now the way they're playing. So
Diggs will go.
I know Diggs will go.
I think McKinney will go. McKinney.
McKinney's playing good, but I think I think they should both stay. But Diggs has an ego and he's gonna go. So
Well, I remember how Deontay Thompson fell last year.
yeah,
I don't know. In the draft, if that's something that like, is it where you want to get drafted, or is it just? I mean, the NFL minimum is $500K. Like you'll be fine. So what's the goal? Is it the $500K plus, or I want to be a first rounder, legendary, blah blah blah. That's
hook me up with league minimum to get my face bashed in every day. I'll go for that.
Right.
Like I'll gladly go get my face knocked in for league minimum.
Yeah, and Fletcher L. Real quick. This is our second show back. Good sir, thank you.
Yeah,
he's making a joke about us coming back after Bama loses. Yeah.
Oh no, see, we don't come back after Bama loses. We've been
here since 2014, but I get it.
Yeah, I get it. Yeah. Someone else made a joke today about leaving after a loss, but I mean, we predicted the last loss. But
we predicted that last loss in August of 18.
Yeah,
it was. Yeah,
I didn't see this.
We didn't see it that bad though.
No.
Yeah. This is more surprising to me, though. I should say that. I think there's some things that maybe we didn't anticipate with Alabama offensively. I think, and this goes with an initial surprise from last year. I mean, the loss of Irv Smith, I think, has been big here. Alabama has had to rely on smaller wide receivers to be those clutch guys. There's been no middle presence, and I think a lack of depth behind Najee Harris has also been something to consider this year. A lot of Bama people today I saw were just like, give him the damn ball, just give him the ball. I mean, how much confidence is on that roster beyond 22 at running back right now? All the guys behind him have either not played a ton or fumbled, and kind of failed to impress in short, flashing examples. Trey Sanders is hurt, done for the year. He was supposed to be one of the guys to help you complement. Obviously, Josh Jacobs left early last year, so
he was supposed to win the Heisman.
Yeah, I think Trey Sanders called it. I don't think that's going to come true, but I think the lack of tight end and running back depth compared to last year is something that's been kind of an issue this year for Alabama. Those are the quickest throws for Tua, the easiest reads for Tua, and those aren't there in the same capacity. So I think they've had to push the ball outside and downfield a little bit more, which naturally means you got to sit in the pocket just a little bit, a little bit longer. So I think those are some little things that I'm starting to notice with Alabama that maybe I didn't anticipate coming into this year and certainly into this game.
Yeah. By the way, game day is going to Waco next week for
do it
for the Baylor Oklahoma game.
You have to, and it's at Baylor. That's fun. That's fun. That'll be something that could. Gosh, game days probably hadn't been at Waco since RG3, right? I would imagine. It might have been the same game when they played Oklahoma.
Yeah, and I don't even know if they were there for that game, to be honest. I mean, they're going to Waco, so more power to Matt Rule and the Bears down there.
So I'm going to go ahead and say that there is almost 0% chance that Matt Rule will be coaching the Baylor Bears next year. I don't know where he's going to coach, but it ain't going to be there.
Probably won't be Baylor.
I don't think. Yeah, I think he's going to be in an NFL city or Tallahassee. Or, I mean, gosh, if I'm USC, I call him. I don't know.
Yeah, well, I mean, why not?
I mean, who are the universal? We got to call him guys. James Franklin, PJ Fleck. Rule should be on that list.
PJ Fleck just shut it down with. Well, I mean, what a like you would think he would shut it down with.
Yeah, we don't know. I don't think the terms came out in terms of a buyout, but I don't blame either party for that one.
No.
And I didn't think Minnesota could do it, so shout out to them.
Yeah.
I thought that he cashed in at the right time because they were about to take a big L, with a lot of people watching.
Yeah.
But they certainly did it. They came out ready to go. Antoine Woodfield Jr., baller, just like his dad, for sure.
Yes, true story.
Yeah.
So at some point during about About an hour ago, just for a little, if anybody wanted to know if there was any chance of Elias Ricks leaving, he said he officially shut down his recruitment.
That isn't that so interesting? We talk about kids not weighing individual games in their own recruitment, especially a 5-star. But this was pretty much just that. This was pretty much, if Bama won, I'm gonna keep taking visits and all that. And the way LSU did, maybe he was in his feelings or just in the moment, but he said he's shutting it down. And when you say something like that, like 5 or 6 weeks before signing day, it's a pretty big deal. So this win obviously helps LSU recruiting more than just Elias Ricks, but holding on to him is a hell of a start.
Yeah. How about Coach O breaking it down on the 50? Talking about this is our house now.
I mean, he's bold, but that's who he is. Just go for it. Life is short. This might be his last win in Tuscaloosa ever. I mean, it's his first one, but you don't know how that's going to go. Enjoy it. Like, what do they say? Enjoy it for 24 hours.
Yeah, enjoy it for 24 hours.
It was like the first 20 minutes, but still part of that 24 hours. So enjoy it.
Yeah.
Go have fun. They earn the right to do that. Like Baker Mayfield at Ohio State with the flag. Shouldn't have let them beat you if you
Exactly.
don't worry about that.
God, the ACC is terrible. Virginia Tech beat Wake.
Poor Clemson. There's not one win that Clemson's going to have that people are going to say, "You see, there they are."
I told you.
You got to wait till January. Like, dang.
Yeah,
they'll be fine. They'll hang out, and they're already in the top 4 as long as they don't lose tonight. So, because Penn State's out of there, like they should have been last week.
Yeah, exactly. So,
well, I guess let's. Should we predict the new top 5 or 6?
Predict it. We'll predict top 5 before we get on out. I guess we'll predict top 5. Number 1 in
that's gotta be LSU.
My number 1's LSU.
Yeah, I mean, and this is one of those where I'm a believer of best team versus best resume, but LSU's close enough to Ohio State, but their resume is so much more. It's like overwhelming at this point that they.
Well, they're the only team with 4 wins against top 10 opponents this year.
Good God, yeah. And obviously, if they get to Atlanta, which is the assumption right now, they're going to run into Georgia or Florida, which will probably be a top 10 team at that point. So they can have 5 wins over the top 10 before the playoff, which will obviously involve a couple more top 10 teams. So that's, I don't know what the record is, but that's a lot.
Yeah, because they beat number 9 Texas, number 7 Florida, number 9 Auburn, and number 3 Bama. So
Texas had no business number 9 preseason, but hey, it's not LSU's fault.
That's not LSU's fault.
God, man, schools we love to overrate. Texas is number 1.
Notre Dame
is number 2. Michigan number 3.
Yeah, I'll agree with that too.
And I think Penn State's becoming one of those too, by the way.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm just bitter about the college football playoff people because I watched Penn State a few times this year and I was like, they're good. They're really good. They're a top 10 team. But
they're number 4.
Shout out to the cat. Who's that?
What?
The cat just walked by here.
Oh, that was Poppy.
What up, Pop?
Randomness in my house.
Shout out to the Army too. Veterans Day weekend. Thank a vet. All of that. That's
there it goes again.
That should be every day, but unfortunately, people are ungrateful.
Shout out to my kid's mom, who's a vet.
Yeah, a lot of the Garcia clan served. Not me, but people braver than me. Shout out to the vets out there. All right, so let's predict the top 5. So number 1, LSU.
Okay, do we want to go back? Well, I guess we've already spoiled that. So we'll go number 1, LSU.
This ain't no reveal show. These people are here to be mad at us and
number one, LSU, hands down.
Ohio State 2.
Ohio State 2. I'm good with that.
And after that, I don't know. Who you going 3? Clemson. Where does Bama? I mean, again, where does Bama move to?
All right, number 3. 3, Clemson, 4.
A lot of good one-loss teams to start this number 4 conversation. Or do you just vault some of these smaller P5 undefeateds up? Can Minnesota climb that high for you?
No. They're going to be right outside. I mean, they're going to be 6, 7, 8 looking in.
The committee did not think Minnesota was good. They were like 17th.
Yeah.
They're like, yeah. I think they said in that broadcast I was watching, 5 2-loss teams were ranked ahead of Minnesota.
Yeah.
Yeah. And granted, Minnesota hadn't beat a soul, so I get it. But again, are they rewarding resumes or the best teams? I don't have that answer because if you're rewarding undefeated, they should have been ranked close to the top 10. But
yeah, exactly. So I mean, I think you got to go. Yeah, LSU, Ohio State, Clemson.
See what you're getting at. It's Bama at 4. That's the point. That's what I'm curious about.
Yeah, is a one-loss Bama better than a one-loss Georgia?
Bama now has, I guess, if it's a thing, the best loss of the season, right? The best one loss of the season.
Yeah.
Georgia lost to South Carolina, and
terrible. South Carolina lost to Tennessee the next week.
Yeah, and I think honestly, I think Georgia's capable of losing another game or two before Atlanta. I think they could lose. They could lose to Auburn. I don't know. Georgia's got some losable games. They got A&M coming up as well. You just don't know what you're going to get with A&M. They've got some losable games coming up. So I just think Bama's better than Georgia. Is that an agreeable thing?
Yes. So here, we'll go off of this. Here's the original: Ohio State, LSU, Bama, Penn State, Clemson, Georgia's top 6. Penn State drops dramatically.
Right. I'd have Georgia above Penn State for sure.
Clemson. So you had 3 and 4 loss. So you would go. Clemson moves to 3.
I'd go Clemson 3, Bama 4.
At 9-0, and then Bama drops 1 to 4 after losing to now number 1 LSU.
Yeah, I don't see a reason to
in a close
have
game.
Bama out of the playoff from Tuesday to today.
Yeah,
I don't have that reason.
Baylor's 12th. They should jump into the top 10, and then Minnesota's 17th. Kansas State, Notre Dame, Michigan, Wisconsin, Auburn.
Kansas State lost, so they'll be down.
Yeah, so Florida, Auburn.
I honestly think Florida's
Michigan
should be above Penn State.
Notre Dame and Kansas State. 7 2-loss teams are ranked ahead of the undefeated Golden Gophers. Just saying.
Yeah, that'll change. I'd have Florida up pretty high. That's one of the biggest stories of the season, too, by the way.
Florida goes up. Oklahoma goes up. Utah and Oregon go up. It's going to be it'll be a tight race when it comes down to it because, there's just so many. Right now, there's so many one-loss teams that are going to win their conference.
Right. And then we'll get an elimination game next week, right? Baylor, Oklahoma, that's an elimination game.
That'll be an elimination. But then that's the thing, though. They'll get a rematch. If Oklahoma loses the first one and then wins the second one, because there'll be a rematch.
What a dumb conference.
Yeah, Big 12 go jump off a bridge because you need a championship game.
Again, is it the best team or the best resume?
Yeah.
And I feel like Oklahoma should be able to survive a loss to Baylor.
Yeah. So
it's all bit I just don't think that should be possible. If we're talking about other one-loss teams.
Yeah. So it'll be interesting when the new one comes out. I'll be interested to see where
who is Oregon's lost to?
Auburn.
Oh yeah. Duh. That was a pretty good loss because they dominated that game. That could be something. I think Oregon's bye week here comes at a really nice time because they don't have a new sample. They destroyed USC last week. The bye week while people lose in front of them is going to be nice for Oregon. I think Oregon could be right in that top 6.
Yeah.
That's going to be interesting. Oregon, Bama fans, you need your boy Mario Cristobal to lose.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like we said, the Pac-12 and the Big 12 got to drop the ball for if Bama's going to get it.
Yeah.
And I think that's whether you look at it as 4 best teams or 4 best resumes. I think those things still have to happen for the committee to do it. Although today I would have Bama 4, but the problem is after today, Bama's not going to have the ability to move up without one of those first 3 losing.
Yeah.
Even beating Auburn, I don't think is going to move Bama. So, yeah, right. So, Bama's got to get the style points out here and kind of go crazy.
Yeah, they need to run the score up pretty much on everybody.
Yeah, that second half was big for Bama in a loss.
Yeah, I mean, we had somebody said that they don't have any good wins and they were down by 20 at one point. Yeah, but the second half saved them. The second half saved them in the eyes of the committee because the committee goes on eye tests and points and all that crap. So I mean,
if it comes down to Bama, Oregon, Timothy or Crimson Freak with a good point. What if Bama blows out Auburn and they both have 1 loss, but Oregon's a Pac-12 champ? But that 1 loss Oregon has is to a team that Bama blows out with a healthy Tua. That will be tough.
Let the Pac-12 champion.
Probably, right?
Yeah.
Probably.
This could be the year. This could be the year with as many 1-loss teams as we have, and the fact that there might only be 2 undefeated teams at the end of the year, if that.
Yeah.
I mean, this could be the year that people were like, okay, can we just expand it to 6 or,
I used to be in that camp, and I'm starting to like the 4. I think that's plenty.
Yeah.
And for any Bama fans hoping LSU trips down the stretch, probably not. They are at Ole Miss next week, home to Arkansas, and then home to Texas A&M. That could be something, but at this point, we can't project people scoring 40 on LSU, right? Bama's the only team that's done it. Can't imagine anybody else has the firepower to get to 40 on LSU without 50 overtimes like A&M got last year.
Yeah.
That's pretty much a chalk, I think, now for LSU. At Ole Miss, home Arkansas. That name your score in that game, and then A&M. So incredible. But yeah, I think the bye week was really, really nice for Oregon here. A pretty much ideal scenario, but I think again, do you want to? And I wonder how much the committee would either want to or not want to see a rematch. What if we roll into December and LSU's just has rolled the whole time and Bama's been sitting at 4? Would something as simple as not wanting to see a rematch factor into it? And again, these are humans, right? These aren't computers. So the computers were cool with it. Will the humans be all right with that? If you're picking the 4 best teams and you guys throw it up, LSU, let's say Ohio State, Clemson, Bama, would the humans be okay with that and leave Bama at 4? Or does that human element make you say, we already saw this game and LSU won it, so let's flip Bama and Oregon or Georgia or one of these other schools? That could be the human element. It's just like we talked about with the spread, right? You wanted more points, like you wanted more humans in it. Okay, this is part of it. Part of it is them, being, prisoner of the moment, and also, having that memory to say, well, we already saw that, so we don't need to see it again. I don't know, Kev, I don't know if you know this. Has there been a rematch in the college football playoff of a regular season game?
No,
I don't think so either. So, because obviously Bama, Georgia was a rematch of
the championship game.
Right.
That's been the only rematch. That's been the only 2 times. It's been the only time.
But no regular season rematches.
No.
Okay, so that's going to be interesting. Would they humanly do that? Because people point back to 9-6 and that year being the reason that they didn't want the BCS anymore. So what are the 2 things people hated most about the BCS that year and the Miami Florida State year where they were both 11-1 and FSU got in over Miami, even though Miami beat FSU.
Yeah.
And then Oklahoma won anyway, so it didn't matter. Or was that the Tennessee year? I'm not sure. FSU lost 2 titles in that stretch. But yeah, so anyway, it's just ironic that, these are the 2 teams that factored into the fall of the computer rankings. And now I wonder how these 2 teams, which to me are clearly 2 of the best 4 teams in America, how they factor into the human, discussion of the top 4. I guess we'll find out on Tuesday and go from there.
Yeah.
Anything going on with these late games, Kev? Oh my God, Clemson's up 42-0.
Yeah, so I mean, besides the Clemson route of,
what happened to the ACC? They won a natty a few years ago and have been good with Clemson since. But man, there's just.
You still
the ACC has multiple Heismans and natties from 2 different groups, 3 different groups if you count the Louisville Heisman. But man, you would think their conference would be thriving, and it's just not.
Yeah, so you got South Carolina losing to App, Clemson's rolling, Notre Dame's putting it on Duke, Kentucky's still beating Tennessee at half, Oklahoma's starting to pull away from Iowa State, and FAU is beating FIU.
It's a big game in my hometown.
Hey.
Lane train, huh?
Lane train. So those there's no more there's no Pac-12 after dark or anything tonight. So these will be the last of them.
Yeah. Is Auburn, Georgia this coming week?
Let's see here. You got Auburn, Georgia this week.
Okay, Bama fans, are you rooting for Auburn so that your potential victory over Auburn looks better? Can I get a war? I'm not going to say it. But are Bama fans going to root for that? Or do you just sit back and say, whatever happens, happens, and we'll take care of business? I don't know. I think Bama fans should root for Auburn.
Yeah. Well, you still, like was just said, South Carolina losing to App doesn't look good for UGA either. So.
That's true.
You got Minnesota next week. You got Minnesota, Iowa, Michigan State. There's really not much going on next week except for,
Michigan's playing better, and I know Nick Saban Jr. is wondering if Michigan has any chance at Ohio State this year. I still say no. Any chance, Kev, for Michigan?
I don't want to. I kind of like Michigan, but I don't think they're already a 2-loss team.
Well, just in that game, because obviously that could eliminate
what Michigan State,
Ohio State.
Oh, Ohio State. Yeah, I don't think this is the year.
Yeah, it was supposed to be the year, but
Ohio State plays Rutgers next week. They might score 100.
Justin Fields is going to play how long into that game? It's like what we used to do with Tua last year, predicting when he was going to come out. When does Justin Fields come out of that game against Rutgers? Second quarter?
First quarter? I
tweeted this during the game. How did Joe Burrow lose a battle to Dwayne Haskins? How did that happen?
He lost to Dwayne Haskins and Tabor.
And JT Barrett.
Well, JT Barrett was like a legacy, I guess.
I'm just saying, though, Urban Meyer is kind of a snake. Like, he's going to play the best guy.
Yeah.
I would think.
I don't know.
Maybe he just grew up in the last year. I don't know. But
well, yeah, because, to me, he was average last year.
Yeah, last year he was average to above average in the SEC.
Yeah, he looked like a guy. He looked like a guy who lost his job to Dwayne Haskins.
Yeah. Shout out to him. I guess he's put in the work. Yes. Obviously, a good staff helps, and a new wrinkle in that staff helps. But
hey, check it. You got a 7-2 Indiana team versus an 8-1 Penn State team.
Penn State better watch out. That Penn State defense is not great. Not as good as I thought they were.
Utah plays a 4-5 UCLA. Like, how does Chip Kelly still have a job?
I mean, they're playing a little better now.
Yeah, I guess.
It's the same situation. Yeah, it's the same thing as Frost and Taggart and Morris. I mean, these year two coaches. Really, Dan Mullen. Is Dan Mullen the only good year two coach right now that just has it rolling?
Yeah,
in the country.
I mean, I guess.
I mean, crystal ball. I guess technically.
Crystal ball, yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, it's just that group of that year of all the coaching changes is kind of been a crappy group.
And can I? This is like really off subject, but I just kind of thought about it as I was scrolling through the games for next week and saw the Oklahoma Baylor game 7:30. Like, how much better would this game have been if it started at 7:30? Like, under the lights, prime time. Like, I don't know. I just like primetime football. I mean, yeah.
Maybe the punter saw the light, and that's why he dropped the ball.
Maybe because like afternoon football is great and everything, but like there's nothing like Saturday night.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. Just me.
Yeah. No, but I mean, the game had a little bit of everything. That's for sure.
It definitely did. I mean,
hopefully I haven't followed up, but hopefully no big injuries either way. I know some guys went down. Kerry Vincent for LSU. And obviously Tua's banged up. Hopefully these guys are good to go going forward. And that's the thing for LSU. I think they have to play this way offensively. I don't think their defense can do it. Alabama did when Alabama was rolling, it did what it wanted. And it seemed like when Alabama's offense sputtered, it was a product of Alabama doing it to themselves. It wasn't necessarily LSU imposing their will, other than the interception, which was a nice concept by Dave Aranda, a nice drop by Queen. Queen's really good in space, not so much in tight, but he's really good in space, I think. Had great coverage on Najee Harris's touchdown pass, reception, I should say, but Najee just went up and got it. And again, he's a kid who played 7-on-7 football too. I mean, he was one that we were going to rank as a 5-star athlete first. And then we just were like, oh, yeah, he's a running back for sure. But Najee's been doing that for a long time too.
Yeah, he's great out of the backfield, which makes him a great NFL back. He's gonna be great. He's gonna be good in the NFL because of the way he plays and his ability out of the backfield, his ability to pick up blitzes and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, but both of those running backs are going to play some Sunday ball.
Oh yeah,
for sure.
God, and I keep like scrolling through things and seeing things that I just you scroll through social media and you see something and you're like, I wish like either that would just like go away or like that can't be serious and stuff like that. And like every time I see that, like I scroll through and I see somebody like post that like Deion Sanders is like an actual candidate for the Florida State head coaching job. Like, let's be serious. My man's like an offensive coordinator at a high school in Texas. Like, you're gonna go from offensive coordinator of a high school in Texas to a head coach. I'm sorry, but like,
isn't Twitter great?
Yeah, it's just like sometimes Twitter just makes you like really just appreciate.
And then today, Deion said, like, I haven't even talked to anybody at the school, much less any administrative folks. Deion Sanders isn't even talking to like Willie Taggart this year, and then all of a sudden he's gonna slide in and be the coach.
Yeah, be the guy.
Yeah, there's not one person in the industry who I've talked to I'm talking high school through college through the NFL. Not any one person I've talked to associated with football thinks that's a good idea. Deion probably doesn't think it's a good idea.
Yeah, it's not.
Yeah. College football, Jared in the chat says LSU OC Brady will be gone after this year. Oh, the OC and Brady. So Ensminger and Joe Brady will be gone after this year. Maybe. I don't I mean, Joe Brady is a young guy, late 20s, about 30. First year at LSU, been at Saints. It was at Penn State before that. He's an up-and-comer. I don't know what his goal is, but he's got a pretty good gig going right now. I don't know if maybe LSU just gives him the OC role by himself, which I would assume view as a promotion. So that could be something for him to settle in on and make a couple more dollars and then maybe build a head coaching resume. But not everybody wants to be a head coach either. I'm not saying I know that about Joe, but not everybody wants to be a head coach. I mean, Bud Foster has been like a top 5 DC for 133 years.
Bud Foster's whole career was a DC.
Yeah, I mean, think about some of the legendary coordinators, right?
He's retiring this year, and
right.
He's never moved on to.
Look at the Clemson guys.
Venables. Yeah,
Venables is like a $2 million coordinator. You think he's going to be chomping at the bit to follow Chad Morris's footsteps in departing Clemson? Probably not.
That's what I'm saying. Like Venables is like.
Yeah.
Venables has been on like it's got to be like everybody's that has an opening. They're number one like off bat, and then he's like, "Nah, I'm good."
Yeah. And in terms of Brady potentially going to the NFL, I can confirm that Joe Brady likes to recruit, so I think the chances of him sticking around at LSU are pretty solid at this moment. But again, you never know. You never know what kind of money will be thrown out and things like that. But the guy is a superstar. There's no doubt about it. And this game is the one that will tell everybody he is if they didn't know already. So good to see guys coming up and kind of grinding it in the right direction, just putting in the work to get where they want to be. Kind of like Joe Burrow, right?
Yeah.
He was kind of candid after the game about his bumpy road, and he was like, "Yeah, I thought I would be at the number 1 team, but I thought it was going to be Ohio State because I'm from Ohio." It's pretty much what he wanted to say. But he did it elsewhere, man. He rerouted, and it's going to be a good look for him because, yeah.
Yeah, he said, "I didn't think it would be in this jersey."
Yeah, that kid's pretty honest. He's kind of nails. I think he's hard to not like. He's pretty hard not to like, I think. And he's like, you hear the stories of him like banging his head before the game, like with the linemen, and like he's just football guy, right? That's what they say. Football guy, Joe Burrow.
Yeah, football guy.
Yeah, son of a coach, right? So
yeah,
pretty easy to root for. Yeah, so yeah, I don't know about Brady, but there's always movement. So we'll of course keep an eye on all those things. A lot of shade for Pete Golding in this chat. A lot of shade.
That's why I said earlier that you can't really blame Pete Golding because Pete Golding doesn't tackle. So, Pete Golding just can get people where they're supposed to be, and then if they choose not to tackle or whatever, then that's on them. So
yeah, I actually thought that Golding and Saban adjusted really well to a couple of things. I thought they added pressure because at the beginning, they were sitting back in coverage and Burrow was like, okay, and was just kind of doing what he wanted. And then once they forced Burrow into a smaller window of time to make a decision, they found some success. Of course, the next layer of that is when he runs, you got to stop him, which they didn't do and maybe have enough time to adjust to. But I did think that they reacted well to what LSU was doing successfully until LSU pulled out some of those savage offensive play calls. That quarterback draw RPO slant was a nightmare for this former defensive back. That is, as a defensive back, the linemen are running, run blocking. So that's one key. The quarterback is moving forward, which is another key that it's run. And then, boop, just pop it right over. I mean, that's a nightmare. That's just – I don't even think you can get mad at that if you're Nick Saban. You just throw out of the review for tomorrow's film session, and you just say, we'll figure that out another time. That's not for tomorrow. No way. That was futuristic stuff. I like that a lot.
It's the new triple option, man.
Yeah. How many high schools are going to run that in the playoffs next week?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're gonna see that and be like, oh, snap.
Yeah, that was something special. And those receivers are obviously really good. We probably haven't talked about them enough, but Jamar Chase, wow, that's a dude. That's a dude right there. I remember him in high school. Big, strong, physical route runner, catch the ball away from his body guy. Florida commit. I was at Florida when he committed to the Gators. And then obviously LSU was able to land him. And I think, I could be wrong on this, I think Florida might have dropped Jamar Chase, which is crazy to think about. But they might not have fought tooth and nail to keep him away from home state LSU. I could be wrong on that. That's just for some reason in my memory bank. I'll double check later. But I think McElwain and company weren't as high on Jamar Chase, but that I could be wrong with that. So
that's why McElwain's no longer.
Yeah, I mean that's been one of the smoothest transitions I've ever seen one coach to the next. I mean, Dan Mullen's on his way to probably back-to-back 10-win seasons. Heck, he might. I guess he's got an outside chance at getting to Atlanta this year. I mean, if Auburn beats Georgia and Florida wins out, Florida's in, correct?
Can we just take a?
I'm just saying.
Can you see this?
What's that?
That is Mac Wilson in an LSU shirt. Apparently, he lost a bet to Landry, and
I'm sure he tweeted it.
Oh yeah,
because they're all on the Browns, which are.
He's wearing the NFL SU shirt but he's got all of his Bama rings on. So.
Yeah, Mac Wilson was having some fun tweeting today, which is, has been said 20 times before. But
yeah, I was about to say, there's nothing new.
That's cool. I mean, it is what it is. I mean, those recent Bama guys should be confident going into an LSU game. None of them ever lost to LSU.
Yeah, they
should all be confident. I would have been too. But shout out to Mac for manning up after losing that bet. Gosh. Yeah, but no, it was a great game. It's one that I'll probably watch again in the next week or two.
Definitely.
I think it's one that, again, I'm not a big run that ish back, but run that back. Just run it back. Let's do it again with these guys all healthy.
It's the best game of the year so far, in my opinion.
Not even close.
And yeah, it's not even close. Maybe the second place right now is maybe the Auburn Oregon game. I mean,
yeah, that was a good one. I can't believe Auburn won that one, but they did. So that would be. Imagine if Oregon just holds on there, where would they be in these rankings?
Yeah,
they would have their own argument for one or two. So, what a blast! What a blast covering this sport! What a blast being with you guys. We appreciate all of the interaction. Again, this is all just knee-jerk stuff right after the game, kind of just raw and not polished and or prepared, just kind of going over some things we saw in the game. Again, things we haven't reiterated enough. LSU's receivers, very good. Alabama's receivers, uncharacteristically inconsistent maybe. Tua, better than we would have expected. Some of those second half throws were just perfect, frankly. Joe Burrow, very good. Heisman, just go ahead and give it to him at this point, unless something dramatic changes over the next little bit. Any other major takeaways, even as it's kind of settled in a little bit later, Kev?
I mean, not really. I mean, I thought that again the defensive backfield struggled, and but I mean, I think as I sit here and think about things from the game, I mean, I think we pretty much. I'm still kind of it was a great game. I enjoy this was one of the first games with my work schedule and everything. This is one of the first games that I've watched start to finish live. I think
a lot of people watch this from start to finish.
Yeah, so I mean, it was a good game. With my work schedule and stuff, I've been getting bored of games here recently, and I just kind of flip back and forth. But
you're watching Clemson and Ohio State and
Oklahoma. Right now, but I mean, I watched this one start to finish. Obviously, game of the year so far this year, and might not get topped, but we'll see. We'll see what the rest of the year.
But does it feel doesn't feel like LSU deserved to win today. It does feel like they were kind of better today, and today was just their day.
I think today LSU was the better team, and it showed.
I agree.
So,
I just want to make sure we said that because I know there's a lot of, but this happened and that happened, and there was a lot of that. There was some voodoo going on, but it was also kind of
we also have unpopular opinion when it comes to Alabama losing games and stuff like that. So
I'm just saying that honestly, the way how sloppy Bama was, they're lucky it wasn't worse. They're lucky that 33 to 13 wasn't maintained. Yeah. They're lucky it wasn't maintained. So, but good fight from Bama to come back. Good adjustments out the second half, as you would expect from a Nick Saban team, and turn into a classic. And hopefully, we see it again. Run it back, baby.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. We'll see what the rest of the year holds, and we'll come back. We'll come back soon. Maybe after or during the college football.
Yeah, I kind of like that Tuesday show because that
with that ranking.
The committee has a way of pissing you off a little bit. So
yeah, because I know they're not going to do it. They're not going to do another live. They're not going to do another show. But I mean, we could probably try to maybe do something after the after the reveal and stuff. So
yes, we are trying to hang out, guys. And again, for those who missed Tuesday's show, we did not leave on our own terms. There was a lot going on, both professionally and personally, for both of us, and a lot of those things have changed. And we're happy to report that things are back in a more comfortable direction, and hopefully something we're able to take advantage of. So, for producer Kev over there, I'm John Garcia Jr., CABC family. Thanks for listening, everybody. We'll have this up on iTunes, YouTube, subscribe, all that. Rate 5 stars, whatever you want to do. Talk crap. We're here at CABC Pod on Twitter. He's at Producer Kev. I'm at John Garcia _JR. God bless Garcia and the crew. Out.